transferred to Manchester United today.
Football predictions.
If Rangers nil, Ipswich Town 1.
Football predictions.
Hello, it's Peter Guest, and I'm here with the Moose for another episode of the footballpredictions.net podcast covering English Premier League games the 29th of November to the 1st of December 2024. And you can see all the details from the matches we're about to discuss in this podcast on our website, footballpredictions.net, along with fixtures from just about every other football competition in the universe.
Yes, and on our website, it will show you where to watch the games on local broadcast channels plus video streaming services, as well as match odds from local bookmakers. Look in the description of this podcast episode for direct clickable links to all the matches we are about to discuss. Geolocation and live streaming rules apply. 18 plus, gamble aware.
Yep, kicking off, we have the first game on Friday, the 29th of November at 8 p.m. It's Brighton, who are in 5th. We take on Southampton right at the foot of the table in 20th. And of course, go to footballpredictions.net for your local kickoff time, betting odds and broadcast streaming options available in your area. So, a couple of teams here which, one's doing pretty well and one isn't.
Yeah, and one isn't, especially away from home. Southampton have lost every single away game in the Premier League this season. That's 6 matches now with no wins away from home, and they've also only scored 3 goals across those matches. But yeah, this is a bit of a South Coast derby, although I'm not sure how these teams will define the derby because it's not really the local rivals, but hence it is taking place on Friday, so they are trying to at least create a little bit of a special feel about this game. But it has to be said that Brighton this season have been looking very strong. And of course, the last home game was a home win against Manchester City. They beat them 2-1 in that game, and they actually came from a goal down as well. So that was quite another impressive turnaround by Brighton, because they had another turnaround early in the season as well at home, which was against Spurs, where they were 2-0 down at halftime and ended up winning that game 3-2. But yeah, overall at home, Brighton's defense has been a little bit leaky. They've actually conceded 7 goals over their last 4 matches at home. So that's nearly 2 on average. But yeah, they still managed to obviously not lose. But yeah, that includes 2 2-2 draws against Wolves and Nottingham Forest. And then they had that 3-2 win against Spurs and a 2-1 win against Manchester City. And of course, right at the beginning of the season, they also beat Man United at home. So yes, Brighton at home, very, very strong home team, especially considering the opponents that they've been up against. Now
Carry on.
For Southampton, as we covered, we said, 6 defeats in a row away from home. They have had some tricky opponents there, but yeah, overall, it's not looking good for Southampton. Just 1 win all season, and another point, which was a home draw against Ipswich. Last time out, they lost 3-2 at home to Liverpool. And what I was about to say there was that we had a 3-1 prediction for Liverpool in that game. And in the last away game, we said that Southampton were going to lose at Wolverhampton in an under 2.5 goal game, and Wolves beat Southampton 2-0. So yeah, overall, I think we know in what direction this prediction is heading.
Well, yeah, I mean, not before we get to the who we think is going to win prediction, which is maybe a bit more obvious, is looking at these 2 teams both concede goals. They've both seen their defences breached in 5 out of their last 6 games, both of them. So yeah, we think it's going to be probable that, like you said, Brighton, the last time they didn't concede was way back on the 19th of October. So we think this is going to be a both teams to score game. And odds on that you can get at 1.67. Yeah, we do go for a Brighton win as well. Not as good odds on that, obviously. 1.4. You never know what might happen down there, though. And for a correct score, we've gone for a 3-1, a home win, a big home win. And odds for a correct score prediction, you can get of 3-1 at odds of 12 or 11 to 1. On the bookie betting, we mentioned 1.4 for Brighton. A wager on the draw you can get for 5. And betting on a victory for Southampton will get you 7. So they're the best of the returns at the moment. We'll see how that changes before the kick-off, but it's only on Friday. So, yeah, let's move on to Nottingham Forest, who are 7th and dropped a little bit, who play Ipswich Town, who have shown a bit more form recently, who are still down in 18th, and it kicks off on Saturday the 30th of November at 3 p.m. And, of course, go to footballpredictions.net for your local kick-off time if you're outside the UK, and all the betting odds and broadcast streaming options. Right, tell us all about these two.
Yeah, Nottingham Forest, they obviously had a great start to the season. Just one defeat from the first 10 games. That was a home defeat to Fulham. But they also picked up some nice wins like at Liverpool. And they then had a sequence of 3 wins in a row, which was at home to Palace, away to Leicester, then at home to West Ham, which is their last home win. However, last 2 matches now for Forest, they've lost. They lost 3-1 in their most recent home game against Newcastle, and then they travelled to Arsenal in the first game after the international break. And we said that the Forest were going to lose that game 2-0, and they ended up losing 3-0 in the end at Arsenal. Probably more or less predictable, but still 2 defeats now in a row for Forest going into this game against Ipswich, who's picked up a bit of form, bit of drift. They picked up their first win of the season at Spurs in their most recent away game. They won 2-1 at the Tottenham Stadium. And then in their most recent home game or game in the Premier League, they played Manchester United and they got a 1-1 draw in a both team to score prediction from our side. And overall, Ipswich only got 3 defeats from the last 10. It's not despite the position in the league, not an easy team to beat at the moment. Forest will have to do very well here. But yeah, we still think that Ipswich probably will struggle in this game at Forest.
Yeah, we do. And looking at Ipswich, they do have scored a few lately. Well, usually 1 or 2 in the game, sort of max. But they do concede goals, don't they? And there have been 21 goals in the last 6 matches that Ipswich Town have been involved in. So it's an average of 3.5 goals per fixture, and 13 of those have belonged to the opposition. And also Forest have scored 9 in their last 6, so they've scored 1.5 goals a game. So, yeah, but for this game, we think it might just be Forest, because it's at the City Ground. They are very strong, that might take the points here. And I think I'll probably just score a couple of goals, and we don't think Ipswich Town will actually score in this one. We've gone for an under 2.5 goals prediction, and odds are fairly good there. You get at 1.91. So a 1-0 or a 2-0 win, or even a 1-1 would get you, or a 1-0 would get you that prediction right. So 1.91 for that. Forest to win, which is what we've predicted, you can get at 1.67 odds. And for the correct score of 2-0, which is what we've got for this, 8.5. The odds you can get for that. Just on our poll on the site, come to our page for this game, which you can see in the description of this podcast. 62% of you think Forest will win, and only 15% like the Tractor Boys, with a further 23% opting for a draw. Moving on to Brentford, who are in 11th, who take on Leicester City, who are down in 16th, not doing too well with a new manager coming soon. Kicks off on Saturday, 30th of November, 3 p.m. And for this game, look on our page on footballpredictions.net, see in the description to find your local kick-off time, betting odds, and available viewing options. Yeah, just like I said, Leicester not doing too well, but Brentford not winning a lot recently themselves.
No, but let's start at Leicester, because like you said, guys, the new manager not come in yet. So there will be a temporary solution this weekend when they're playing away to Brentford. But yeah, no Steve Cooper on the sideline. They're going to Brentford here. Last time out, Leicester played Chelsea at home, and we had a 2-1 prediction here for Chelsea to go and beat Leicester, and they beat them 2-1 thanks to a late penalty to Leicester in the 95th minute. We came in on that correct score prediction. Yeah, but yeah,
we knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, we knew it was going to happen. Leicester has drifted off a bit after the wins against Bournemouth and Southampton. They now got 3 defeats from the last 4, and they picked up just a point at Ipswich right in the very last minute. Another late goal for Leicester, by the way. That was a 94th minute equaliser at Ipswich. So they do like to score late, because also at Southampton, if our punters remember this, Leicester beat Southampton 3-2 away from home. the 98th minute winner. So late goals for Leicester, but yeah, their form is not been great. It's obviously resulted in Steve Cooper being sacked. So the management or the board must have felt that something had to be done because, yeah, their on-field performances have not been great, even when they have been like winning in these two matches. So for Leicester, it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to get on at Brentford, because if we look at Brentford, and I think if people want entertainment, go and watch Brentford at home, because they have scored, or there has been a total of 29 goals across their 6 home matches this season. That is nearly an average of 6 goals per game. Just over the last 3 home matches for Brentford, there's been scored 20 goals. So that includes the most recent home win, which was against Bournemouth. That was a 3-2 home win against Bournemouth. Then they had a 4-3 home win against Ipswich and a 5-3 home win against Wolverhampton. So yeah, the defense is leaky, but they do like to score goals at home. Their most recent result in the Premier League, though, was very opposite that. That was a 0-0 draw at Everton, but Brentford did have to play most of that game with just 10 men. So they held out for a draw there. But yeah, the last home game was a 3-2 home win against Bournemouth. Now, lots of goals. I think it's very difficult to get to a conclusion that does not include goals in this prediction.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned Brentford and their high scoring, but games, but it's them doing most of the scoring. Leicester City as well are involved in high scoring games. So in 5 out of the last 6 games involving Leicester, a minimum of 3 goals have gone in. In fact, the average number of goals per game in that spell is 4. So 4 goals per game. But Leicester themselves have only scored 1.33 out of that average. So, yeah, it's not looking so good for them. But generally speaking, apart from, like you said, there aren't many ball draws involving these clubs, even though in the last Everton-Brentford game it was 0-0. Before that, it was just goals galore. And Leicester conceded a lot, Brentford conceded. So we have opted here for both teams to score prediction. And the odds on that you can get at 1.62. Brentford to win is what we think will happen, given the recent form of Leicester and the fact they're managerless at the moment. And there's talk that Ruud van Nistelrooy might come in and be their manager, which is maybe a bit of a surprise to some people. But a Brentford win, 1.65 odds is what you can get for that. If you go for a draw, you can get 4.2, and a Leicester win, 4.75. But our correct score prediction here, we've gone for a 2-1 home win, and the odds there are 9 or 8-1. Do look at our poll on our website, which will help make your mind up what you want to do with this game. If you want to have a bet on it, you can see that in our poll, 67% of you think that Brentford will win, and only 8% give Leicester any hope of winning. With the other 25% a draw, I think probably it will be the Brentford win, and hopefully it's an entertaining game. Let's move on to Wolves, who are 17th, taking on Bournemouth, who are in 13th. This one's on Saturday, 30th of November, 3 p.m. kickoff, and of course, you can find your local kickoff time if you're overseas, and all the game odds and broadcasting streaming channels on our page on footballpredictions.net. Look in the description, you'll find a clickable link. And Wolves are starting to find some form finally.
Yeah, Wolverhampton finally picked up their first win of the season before the international break. That was a home win of 2-0 against Southampton, and they followed that up with another win at Fulham. 4-1, which was a great result because Fulham has actually been looking really strong this season. So yeah, 4-1 win away from home from Wolverhampton, and they definitely picked up some form. But overall, it has to be said that Wolverhampton, despite the position in the league, have been scoring goals. Wolves so far this season have scored 20 goals in 12 games. And just to put that in comparison, the likes of Manchester City and Arsenal have scored 21 and 22 goals. So, yeah, when we think about Wolves, we can also think about goals. When we look at Bournemouth, it's a very similar story, especially of late. Lots of goals in their games. But opposite Wolves, they don't have 2 wins in their last 2 games. They have 2 defeats. They lost their most recent game 2-1 at home to Brighton. And on their latest travel, they lost 3-2 at Brentford. Both of those, of course, we had both teams to score as our prediction across those two games. Bournemouth has to be said, they have got quality in that team. They've beaten Manchester City and Arsenal at home over the last 5 matches. So, they have some really strong results there. But this game is taking place at Wolves, and away from home, Bournemouth has been struggling. They picked up 1 win at the beginning of the season at Everton, but if we have a look at some of the other results of late, then they have 3 defeats from their last 4, and the only point that they got in between was a 1-1 draw away to Villa, which of course is not bad, but they did also lose to the likes of Leicester, which is undoubtedly a game that they would probably have liked to have won. So yeah, Bournemouth is travelling to Wolves here on the back of 2 defeats, and Wolverhampton with 2 wins in the bag. What do we think?
Yes, that's a good question. Let's look into the crystal ball. Well, one thing's for sure, these 2 teams are involved in some goals. They usually score the goals, and Wolves have hit 14 games in their last 6 matches, whilst conceding 12, which is an interesting statistic. We'll see if that can continue on to this. And likewise, Bournemouth have been scored against in 5 out of their last 6 games. They have 8 goals, that is, in total. But we think it's another one of those games where it looks like there might be quite a few goals flowing, and we have gone for both teams to score prediction. Odds there, you can only get 1.53, but that probably shows how likely it is. But that's probably good for you if you're putting a bet on it, because it's probably going to happen, but you'll only get 1.53 back. But we have gone, maybe this is a bit more interesting to you, for a draw. And odds for a draw you can get on this game at 3.6. Now, bear in mind that Wolves have been involved in a couple of draws recently. There's the Palace game at home and the Brighton game away, and both of those were 2-2. And for this game, we've also gone for a 2-2 result. And so for a correct score prediction of 2-2, you can get odds there of 13. That's 12-1, which is pretty handy. Just so you can know about the other odds for the win-draw-win market, 2.8 is what you can get for a Wolves win and 2.4 for a Bournemouth win. It really does show that the bookies are completely split. So a draw might be a very good option if you're looking at having a flutter on this one. In our poll, it's kind of similar. Actually, on this one, 38% of you think Wolves will get the home win, 29% go for Bournemouth for a win, and everybody else goes for a draw, with 25% of people thinking, like us, that it will be a score draw. So, yeah, 1-1 or a 2-2, but we think it's 2-2, and it should be quite an entertaining match. Heading into our summary games now, Crystal Palace down in 19th, take on Newcastle United, who are 10th on Saturday, the 30th of November at 3 p.m. Visit, of course, us, and you'll be able to see where to watch that. For this one, we think it actually will be a very low-scoring game. We've actually gone for an under 2.5 goals game, and for our prediction, we've gone for 0-0.
Yeah, moving on to the late kickoff on Saturday, again, 30th of November, and this one's taking place at 5:30 UK time, and it's West Ham in 14th at home to Arsenal in 4th. Now, for this game, we are going with an Arsenal win, and both teams to score prediction. The correct score here we're going for is Arsenal 3-1.
For the next game, we've got Tottenham Hotspur in 6th, who take in on Fulham in 9th. This one's on Sunday, the 1st of December at 1:30 p.m. And for this one, we've actually gone for both teams to score prediction as well. You never know which Tottenham's going to turn up this week. And we have gone for a correct score of 2-1 to Tottenham Hotspur.
Yes, moving on to another London team. Chelsea in 3rd takes on Aston Villa in 8th. This game also kicks off on Sunday, 1st of December at 1:30 UK time. And it's another game where you can check on our site what channels you can watch it on for both TV and stream. Now for this game, we are going with a Chelsea win, both teams to score prediction, and a correct score of 2-1 Chelsea.
Now we've got Manchester United looking for their first win under the new manager, who are 12th, taking on Everton, who are not far away, in 15th. This is on Sunday as well, 1:30 p.m. UK time kickoff. And for this game, we've gone for an under 2.5 goals game, and we have gone for a comprehensive home win, Manchester United 2, Everton 0.
Yeah, moving on to the game of the weekend. Liverpool in first takes on Manchester City. Out of form Manchester City, let's say it like that. This game kicks off Sunday, 1st of December at 4 o'clock UK time. It's another game where you can have a look at our site for the TV channels by location and streaming channels as well. Now for this game, we are going big. We're going over 2.5 goals. But hang on a minute, we're going Liverpool win and a correct score of 3-0 Liverpool.
Yep, and if you're going to place a bet on any of these games and like Bet365, you can use our bonus code FP365, gamble aware 18 plus. And in the description of this podcast, you'll find links to all the games we've just covered, or just head to footballpredictions.net, and there you can browse the online sources to watch the games from your location via streaming and TV channels and our predictions, etc. And if you weren't aware, we do produce these podcasts for several competitions in addition to the Premier League, and you can listen to them all at podcast.footballpredictions.net or where you download your good podcasts from. Well, that's it. Thanks, Moose, and thanks for listening. And until the next one, it is
Goodbye.
A football prediction.